let's talk about a bit isosceles and equilateral triangle. The definition is already given in 7th grade triangles, type of triangles, topic set the triangles. When you heard the word isosceles triangles, you need to know two sides congruent. If the left side is 10 cm, so the right side here, this side must be 10 cm either. This is the basics, and here we can say base angles so has same measure, so they are congruent either. The base angles congruent. So what is the base angle? Not isosceles parts. There is a base. This is not equal with other parts, the other sides. So we can call these angles are congruent. So there is one more thing, the perpendicular bisector of the base. So if we call this one base, so these are base angles, so perpendicular bisector. Perpendicular bisector is mean it's cut there's a line, it's divided base to equal part. So this is the perpendicular bisector. Usually it's when it's isosceles triangle, so let's put it 90 degrees, it's passed through the vertex at the top. So this is the first, it's cut the base to equal part and it's perpendicular bisector, we call it. It's at the same time altitude, so let's clean a bit here. When you draw a line until the from top to the base, we call that one altitude, so it's 90 degrees. And it's an angle bisector, so let's cut this angle to equal part. So it's a median, so it's cut base equal part, it's cut the angle to equal part, and it's perpendicular. As you see, we call it altitude because of that. So this three is works all the time. When you draw one perpendicular line that's passed through the vertex, top vertex, so it's at the same time median divided the base to equal part and angle bisector, and it's perpendicular. So this three is important at the moment. Let's see some kind of triangles. As you see, there's a triangle. It's isosceles triangle. It doesn't matter how it's when. Let's check that one, for example. Let's put it here. I can say these two sides congruent. So where is the base here? If these are the congruent side, I will call that left side, this side is base. So these base angles are congruent side. Or for that one, these are congruent sides, two congruent sides, and base is here this time. Base is here. So base angles are congruent. Of course, these are acute isosceles triangle. Let's see that there is an obtuse. That side is congruent with that one. So base angles, this time base is here. So that's a base. Base angles are congruent either. Let's use another mark on it. So base angles are congruent. When we talk about an isosceles triangle, we know two congruent sides and two base. This is first. Second, the perpendicular bisector. So when I draw that line segment here perpendicularly, this at the same time a median, so it's divided the base to equal part. So these two sides congruent. Let's mark with another color to not confuse. So this half and that's another half. So divided to equal part, this base and its angle bisector. This divide this angle to equal part. Okay, or we can show different notation, that's better. Same, it's work for that one. If you draw again altitude here, so we call it altitude, perpendicular. It's cut here to equal part and angle bisector. That's work for that one either. So that side is congruent with that side, and this angle is equal to that one. It's angle bisector. So these are the properties of isosceles triangles. We will use this kind of properties to solve some question. In any triangle, if there is any triangle but you don't know it's an isosceles triangle, if it's not given, if two angles are congruent, then the triangle is isosceles, such as let's write here an draw a triangle. I say that angle is congruent with this one. So I can say that's an isosceles triangle, and these are the congruent sides. So we don't know it's an isosceles, but if the base is given, I can say that's an isosceles triangle. This is first. Let's continue with another one. If the median is also an altitude, median and altitude. So let's draw a median. Okay, let's cut this base to equal part. As you see, it's not given as an isosceles, and this is right angle. Cutting equal to part this base, it's a median. So if these two things correct, I can say that sides congruent with these sides. So of course you can say these an angle bisector, and because of it's an isosceles, these angles are congruent. You can say that one. So let's see another one. So until now we talk about that's rule. Okay, if the altitude is a median or bisector of an angle, then the triangle is isosceles. So if the median, we say that, okay, if the altitude is a median, it's here, we already say that one, and it's same idea, or a bisector of an angle. Let's see, let's draw an angle, that's a triangle. Okay. If the altitude, this is the altitude, it's a median, I show it if it's a median at the same time, so we can say that's an isosceles. Or if it's not median, so if it's angle bisector, so divide this word angle to equal parts, so we can call this an isosceles triangle. So I can say this side is congruent with that one. So let's continue. If the bisector is also an altitude or a median, it's an angle bisector at the top. Let's say, let's draw an angle bisector here. Let's cut this top angle to equal part. It's an altitude. So if this is 90 degrees, we call this triangle isosceles. So I can say this two part congruent. Or if it's not 90 degrees, but if it's median here, it's divide this base to equal part. So I can say that's an isosceles triangle. So of course you can say this is an altitude. So I will say two things. There's let me say right here something. Okay, what we know, altitude, so perpendicular altitude, and what we have, median, so base bisector, we will divide base to equal part, and angle bisector. If two of them is correct, the third one must be correct for any triangle. If these two is given, you can say this is correct and triangle is an angle bisector. If these two is given, so, and you can say that's correct too and triangle is angle bisector. Or if these two is given, so you can say it's a median and the triangle is isosceles triangle. So all of that one, it's about this choosing two of them. If two of them given, you can call this triangle isosceles triangle. Let's stop here a bit and solve some examples. Okay, let's start with this question. There is a shape and it's asking what the value of x. So x equal what? There is an isosceles triangle formed here. How we know? Because of this sign. So if these two signs congruent given, so what we know? If that's 75 degrees, this must be 75 degrees. So there's a 75, 75, and there's an angle, the x, the value of angle is x. So how can we find this value of x? If you remember, sum of the interior angle of a triangle 180. So x plus 75 plus 75 is equal 180. X plus 75 is 150 right here. So 180. So minus 150 minus 150 algebraic expressions. So x equal 30. So the answer is B. This is question 1. So first question, and it was an easy one. We use isosceles property. Very similar question. As you see, there's an angle given at the top angle, but because of the isosceles triangle, I can say that, okay, this angle x, so I can say that must be x. So x plus another x plus 28 equal 180. So 2x plus 28 equal 180. Don't ask me why 2x, because x plus x, it makes 2x. Minus 28 minus 28. 2x equal 180 minus 28, it's equal 152. So divided by 2, 76. X equals 76. Let's look at options. It's D. So that's question 2. Very similar question with the first one. Okay, another question. If you get the idea, I think you can solve that one because of the isosceles. These are same what we know. The base angles are congruent. 50. 50 plus 50, 100. So 100 plus x equal 180. X equal 80. That's good. You can try before watching the solution. You can stop here and you can try that. How can we solve that one? But this is the one of the easiest one, because as you see, that's an isosceles triangle. So that angle must be congruent with that one. 65 equal to x. Sorry, it didn't write. I'm sorry. Okay, let's continue. So the answer is 65. Let's clean that one. Okay. Another type of question. There's a measure of angle to it. It's equals 6 plus 5x. So this angle equals 6 plus 5x. Because of the isosceles triangle, I can say that it's congruent with 66. So 6 plus 5x equals 66. So what is the question? The question is asking about the value of x. So minus 6 minus 6. 5x equals 60 divided by 5 divided by 5. X equal 12. 60 divided by 5 is 12. Very similar question again. Okay, let's write here with another color. This time angle to x plus 86. So this angle equal, it's as you see, because of the isosceles, these are congruent angles. So x plus 86. X plus 86 it's equal 76. So x equal, how can I find x? Minus 86 minus 86. X equal minus 10. Okay, so 76 minus 86, x equal minus 10. Let's check the options. The result is C. Okay, let's go to the other question. Another question, and let's use blue again. Here isosceles triangle, but this is very good question. As you see, this time angle 2 is x plus 86, and here angle 2. This one is x plus 86. Be careful here. If this is 53, so this must be 53. So what is the value of angle 2? First you need to calculate it, so to find x. So 53 plus measure of 2, it's equal 180. 106 plus measure of angle 2 equal 180. Measure of angle 2, the measure of angle 2 is 74. So I get the 74, but I haven't found the value of x. X plus 86 equals 74 minus 86 minus 86. X equal minus 12. So the result is D. That was a good question. As you see, first you need to calculate measure of 2. Okay, let's talk about equilateral triangle. If you know equilateral triangle, the sides of an equilateral triangle are all congruent. So we have 3 congruent sides. If we have a triangle and all sides congruent, we call it equilateral triangles. All the angles of a triangle are congruent. So if the angles are congruent, given if 3 angles congruent, if this is given, these are all same, so we can call these triangles an equilateral triangle. So that side is congruent with that one and it's congruent with that one. This is the first. And don't forget here, if we have an equilateral triangle, let's say this is an equilateral triangle, all angles must be 60 degrees. So all of them 60 degrees, 60 degrees, 60 degrees. 60 plus 60 plus 60, 180. So that's all about equilateral triangle. And don't forget here, the rule of isosceles triangles works here again from any vertex in this time. If you draw, let's draw a large equilateral triangle to tell everything here. That one. Let's call that one equilateral triangle. These are all equal. So if you think about it, if I think only that side, so that's an isosceles triangle. So you can draw a median and it will be equal 30, 30, and this side will be equal this side. And these work for all the vertex. For any vertex, if you draw an altitude or median or angle bisector, it will be angle bisector, altitude and median on the same time. So that's all about equilateral triangle. Let's continue solution of question. Okay, that's an equilateral triangle. We was talking about this question and we stop here, continue with telling what is the equilateral triangle is. Let's see, all angles is the measure of all angles on an equilateral triangle is equal to 60, so they all 60. So what is the measure of 2? It's equal to 60, and it's given x plus 7 is 2. X plus 72 equals 60, x equal minus 12. Why minus 12? If you subtract the 72 from here, that will be 0, only x on the left side of the equation. And if you subtract 72 from the right side, so 60 minus 72, negative 12. Okay, let's continue that question. There's an isosceles triangle. If you see, how you know that triangle that's forming a large triangle is an isosceles. So what's happened? I'm sorry about that one. I didn't want to go that one here. So as there's an angle bisector, these two angles given as the congruent angles. How we know it? As you see, they have same mark here and here. So this is an angle bisector, and on an isosceles triangle, it's given if there's an angle bisector, it must be altitude and median. So it's divided the base to equal part. If that part equal x and it's equal to 7, so what is the value of x? It's equal to 7. Okay, let's check the next question. Good. As you see, this angle and this angle congruent. This angle and this angle is congruent given. So I can say that because of that triangle on that triangle, I can say that because of it's an isosceles base angles are congruent, this side is 7. So angle side angle property, we learn it angle side angle. Because of that, these two triangle, let's draw with another color here. This red triangle and the blue triangle congruent, so 7, 7, 7, and these must be equal to 7. So 2x minus 13 equal to 7. 2x equal 20 divided by 2, x equal 10. So the question asking x, so we find x equal 10. Here you need to think about angle side angle congruency. So these two triangles are congruent. So 7, 7, 7, and this side must be 7. Okay. Let's check this question. Same idea. As you see, they have same mark here, 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 and here. So these are congruent angles. If that's 8, I can say this is 8, and this is 8, and this is equal to 8. So minus 16 minus 16, x equal minus 8. Okay, let's look at that shape. There's an isosceles triangle. We can see from the congruent sides. So therefore, that's a angle bisector. It's given as you see. So it must be median. So that side must be congruent with that side, and it must be altitude. Altitude is not useful at the moment. If I know 9, it's equal to that side. So it's all my problem to find x. So 2x plus 31 equal to 9. 2x equal minus 31 minus 31, 22. But negative 22, be careful. 9 minus 31, negative 22. So divided by 2. Divided by 2, x equal minus 11. Okay, that's the end of the questions. I hope these questions help you a bit to understand how we use the isosceles triangles rules.